All right, so number one, why did a third estate form their own government? Why did they form their own government here? Go ahead, Wyatt. Thank you.
Treated unfairly compared to the first and second estate.
Yeah, good job, good job. So the third estate made up of who again? Go ahead, Paul. Yeah. Yeah, good job. So you got your commoners, right? You got your workers, middle class, lower class, your farmers, okay? And these are the people that are paying all the taxes and trying to pay off the costs from those costly wars. Okay, good, good. So the third estate with the estates general, right? General, however you want to pronounce it. Throw a little French lingo at the end of it. But they were all given one vote. Each estate was given one vote. And we all know the first and second estate, they were going to side together. So with that, the third estate formed the what? So quick review here as we're going through. Go ahead, Parker. National Assembly, good job. And their goal is to try to create a, Parker? Constitution, good job. And where did they make that oath to create this Constitution? Where was it again? Paul? Yeah, the tennis court, good job. So Louis XVI's own tennis court. Oh my gosh, creating this Constitution. Good, good. All right, so we all know with the end of Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette by the guillotine, well, there had to be a new government to form. And we talked a little bit about this Constitution, the Declarations of Rights of Man and Citizens. And we see a political party rise to power. And that political party was who? What? Connor. The Jacobins. Yep, good job. And who led the Jacobins? What was his name? What was his name? You got it, Wyatt?
Robes something.
Okay. Austin? Yeah, good job. So Maximilian Robespierre. Good job, Robespierre. So Robespierre, he kind of leads this new form of government, this government that was looking to try to bring on a representative democracy. Okay, eliminate a figurehead, eliminate a monarch from this whole system. Okay, and with that, how did he try to bring on this change? How did he try to bring on this change? What did he utilize to his advantage? Connor, go ahead. Yeah, the guillotine, right? Good job. So with that, okay, the guillotine is a symbol of the French Revolution. Okay, a symbol of this death, 20,000 people being killed throughout this reign of terror. All right, so good, good. So Robespierre, he also pushed to a point to eliminate anything from this old monarchy, this old system of government. So yesterday, we watched this video, and what was that pretty much detailing about? What were they also removing from France? Which triggered a lot of these other European countries to start this war with France. Paul. Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, so they destroyed the Catholic churches, right, all throughout France. What's that?
The calendar.
Yeah, the calendar. Good. They changed the calendar, right? They also looted a lot of these churches because it was a symbol of this old monarchy, this old system of power. That's been around since the medieval times, since we started this class. All right, so that's how the Jacobins stayed in power. If you indicated all of that, great. That's what I was looking for. Okay. And we mentioned a little bit about how the Jacobins pushed for fear tactics. They also censored, okay, many people all throughout France. So having officials of the Committee of Public Safety, right, standing in bread lines, standing in areas all throughout France, and at the same time monitoring the mail. Geez, so digging through people's mail to see who might be going against this new form of government or counter-revolution. All right, okay, so that's how the Jacobins stayed in power, right? They utilized a lot of these systems for their own control. And with Robespierre, what happened to this guy? What happened to Robespierre? It says it right here in the end of the assignment. Go ahead, Wyatt.
Eventually got executed.
Yeah, good job, right? Good job. So he kind of pushed his power a little too much. Okay, yeah, he was pushing for a representative democracy, but he was doing it through fear tactics. He was doing it through absolute control. And that's not much of a government for the people. Okay, so that really was looking for number 2. 3, describe the purpose of public executions during the Reign of Terror. So yesterday, like I said, with the questions, okay, I had a multiple choice, but I was like, you know what, we can add a little bit more to it. I tried to change it. It's a Google Doc, but it didn't change for you. I'm sorry for that. But real quick, what do you have for number 3? So describe the purpose of public executions during the Reign of Terror. Again, close to 20,000 people got their heads lopped off to try to keep this power or to try to make sure this royal government never returns. Paul?
They did it to fear the people, so they did without, way of like keeping order in
Yeah, good job. Good job. So utilizing guillotine and even other methods, right? Firing squads, even tying people up and drowning them, right? It was crazy, crazy stuff. And they utilized this method to try to place fear into the people that if they weren't for this revolution, they were being killed, right? If they're trying to counter the revolution or bring back these royalist causes, they're being killed, right? So that's what this was all about. Okay, with Robespierre, he pushed it a little bit further and actually targeted people that were enemies of him. So that's why I was saying the other day, it was kind of like a witch hunt in a way. It was like a hearsay type of thing. If you had a problem with someone else, well, you could have them killed by just saying that they're trying to bring back this royal government or they're trying to stop the revolution. So this is how the numbers really reached those levels of close to 20,000 people in these short years during the French Revolution. All right, good. So that's what I was looking for. 4, describe the events after Robespierre's execution. So yeah, Robespierre, he was loved and hated, mostly hated, because he was trying to put fear in the minds of the people and the hearts of the people. And we all know that he eventually will get his head lopped off. And I know I described a little bit yesterday about how that happened. Oh, his last few hours, his last day on Earth, as he was trying to stray away from this execution, tried to off himself, shot his jaw apart. Pretty crazy stuff, right? And he tried to escape the jail that he was placed in by jumping out the third story window, broke both of his legs. Oh, and then his head was lopped off. Jeez. Paul, what happened here for number 4? What do you got?
So after he died, France tried to public system, but because of the high tension, it caused the system to die, and then Napoleon stepped in and he himself.
Awesome. Good job. Good job. So I know I had that as one of your terms the other day. The what? What was this new government that was formed? It was kind of like an oligarchy. What was that? One of your last vocab terms. Paul, go ahead. Yeah, the directory. Good job. Good job. So that's what we're going to start off with today with your bell ringer at the directory. Okay, this was a new government that was formed after this reign of terror. The reason for it, well, they need structure, they need stability, they need some sort of means to move forward after all of this execution, all this bloodshed and fear placed into the people of France. At the same time, what was going on with France? So yeah, they're having internal issues and internal struggles, but what else? Are they fighting external forces? Austin?
Russia and Austria.
Awesome, good job. So yeah, you have Austria, you have Prussia, and even Great Britain. Okay, they're not stepping away from a fight with France. And why are these countries fighting with France? What's the reason for it? So let's lead in what we're going to be talking about today. Go ahead, Chris.
Because France get some of France's land.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Good job. So with France, it's still the largest land military, the land army in the world. So what better time, what better opportunity than to attack France right now? So utilize, okay, obviously Prussia, Austria, even Great Britain to attack France when it's down on its knees, as it's going through rebellion. So what better opportunity to try to weaken this force really for the future? Okay, good. Why else? Why else? So through this reign of terror, what was Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety doing? What else were they destroying in France? Paul, you said it earlier. What were they destroying? The Catholic Church, right? Good job. So it was a symbol that, hey, they're trying to strip away and try to step away from religion. So it was one of those things with Austria and Prussia. Okay, they view this as a sign against their power, against their will. If these revolutionary ideas travel to their countries, who knows, right? You might actually have Frederick the Great, King of Prussia, his head being lopped off, and this total change. Can you just pull the tissue out of the box like a normal person? Okay, anyway. So, yeah, you have all these constant wars, okay? With the directory, we'll talk about it today a little bit more, okay? It utilizes the military to enforce its rules, to enforce its laws on the people. Okay, again, it's an oligarchy. It's not really representative of the people. It's a group of wealthy individuals, higher status, making decisions for France. All right, then finally, 5. This was your bell ringer from yesterday, pretty much. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page here. And this was about the Committee of Public Safety, how Robespierre caused a mass hysteria and anarchy chaos all throughout France during this time of the French Revolution. And this is pushing for change, for stability, for structure. France is going through a lot of really terrible times internally and externally. So this is going to push for someone to rise to power, We all know that person as who? Nick? Who's gonna step in? To bring structure, bring stability back to France. It says it right there. You had a question about what? Yeah, Napoleon. There you go. I think that's what you said. Okay, there you go. There you go. So you can see how this is changing, right? New governments forming, new constitutions formed. Oh my. Okay. Yes, yes. All right, okay. So make sure you guys turn that in. Here's your bell ringer for today. Again, I want to make sure that we know the steps here for Napoleon's rise to power. So it's important to talk a little bit about that government that was formed after the Reign of Terror. So what was the name of the government that formed after the Reign of Terror? Pretty easy, we just went over it. And what type of government was this? Was it really representative of the people? There you go, there you go. So I'll give you a little bit of time to work on this. Reminder, I'm still aiming to have our test for next week. I'm thinking next Tuesday. If it is Wednesday, it is what it is, especially if we might be off tomorrow. Ooh. Maybe? I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe a virtual day. Who knows? Come on. What do you say, Nick? Yes. Okay. I'm liking to hear that.
No one knows about it. I know. Stop.
Billy, how you doing? All right. Anybody wasn't pretty average.
I've said this.
Man of many talents.
17 and a half.
Pizza, weather, and
We're talking about the snow.
cradle, cheese.
Just like the. Yeah. That's the guy.
Hey.
Hey, man. Yeah, quiet now. Did he start here?
Yes, I did. That's what it's doing. Wish I was here. Don't let you slip up. Fully dynamite. Should throw them in the presentation. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right, maybe.
Make sure you get the dance.
Oh, the dance at the end. Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Yeah, can you do it?
You give your best shot. Just the moment.
Throw a football over that mountain. Uncle Rico.
What is that, 90? What did it say, 931 on the slides? What's your average? $9.31. What? No.
Those classes.
You get paid about $9.31 on YouTube a month. That's what.
Hey, I'd take it.
That's what we found.
That'd be great. Wait, really?
Wow.
I was gonna say I haven't yet to see this. All right, okay. So type of government, we just talked about it. What was the name of the government here? Someone other than Paul. Paul's been killing it today. Appreciate it.
Oh, I had to-
Amelia, go ahead. Shh. The directory. Yes, good job. The directory. And what type of government was this? What type of government? Chris, go ahead. Yeah, good job. Good job. So an oligarchy, what is an oligarchy? Real quick. What does that mean? I guess I should add it as a term. What is an oligarchy? Go ahead, Chris. Yeah, good job. Good job. So it's pretty much like a dictatorship in a way, as a group of members, about 5 members or so, okay, of a higher status, they make all the decisions for the country, right? So, like I mentioned, it's really not much of a representative form of government. Okay, these are elite, right? The people of the higher status making all the decisions. So, in all reality, with this French Revolution, since this reign of terror, okay, this new form government was trying to bring structure back to France as they're going through a lot of turmoil internally and as they're fighting wars against these other European powers. So it's one of those things where this government was just trying to bring structure, and they thought the best way to go about it is to have a group of members making decisions. Okay, they created a new constitution. Like I said, with France and its French Revolution, they went through 3 constitutions and 5 different government changes during this span of the revolution. So there's a lot of chaos, right? There's a lot of anarchy. There's a lot of change going on in really a short period of time, around 10 years. All right. Is there any questions on that? Paul?
So like these officials are elected by the people.
No,
So
no,
it's not like an act like a republic.
no, no. So this is just them stepping in. Hey, we're taking over. We're taking control. We're in a state of chaos here, right? So that's what it was all about. All right. Okay, moving on here. Here are your terms for today. All right, so we got coup d'etat, first council, and Napoleonic Code. There you go. Oh, Chris and Connor, current events for Friday. Right.
To the Rams, dude, if we lose to Baker Mayfield, that there goes our whole record. Now, our Packers still have to figure out how to do that. I mean, we have to. Skip Borget speaks to Christian Watson.
Yeah, let's go with that. We need another minute. All right, so let's go over this. Coup d'etat, what is that? What is it? Go ahead, Chris. Okay, all right, good job. So we'll talk about with Napoleon. He receives power by utilizing the military and his accomplishments, his experience through these wars with Austria, Prussia, Great Britain, and he gains a backing, he gains a following, which pushes him to really find power in a form of a somewhat of a dictatorship. He still wants to he wants to provide a lot of these enlightenment views, liberties, freedoms to the people, separately. But in any case, he's going to try to bring on this change through his absolute rule. So in all reality, with the French Revolution, it kind of goes back to this dictatorship. It comes back to an absolute rule, and that's by Napoleon. All right, okay. So again, reason for it, the directory was failing the people, and they were failing in some of these conflicts, these wars. The only way to try to bring on change is literally to upheave the government, to try to force a turn, a transition, a change for the government. And that's exactly what Napoleon does. Comes to a point where he actually has the Pope there to grant him as emperor, as really the dictator of France, and he takes the crown right from his hands. And he places it on top of his head, and even his wife's at the time, which we'll go through the course of change here soon enough to talk. All right, so first council, what do we got? This means what? What do we got? What do we got? So, please. Alon, what do you got? What did you say? I couldn't hear you. All right, yeah, good job, good job. So with Napoleon, he's bringing on this change. He's providing these liberties and freedoms to the people. Again, I mean, some of them, most of them obviously just going to the ban. But in any case, he's trying to change the way France is ruled through this absolute rule, through his dictatorship in a way, but providing these liberties and freedoms to the people. Okay, yeah, he's not just totally throwing out what the revolution was fought over, but in a way, okay, he is leading in a different manner. Do you guys remember talking about the enlightened absolute rulers? It's much like that. It's like Frederick the Great. It's kind of like that oxymoron, but in any case, he has absolute power while people still have the freedoms and liberties they fought for through this revolution. Napoleonic Code. What got the Napoleonic Code? Honor, thank you.
There's something called the French Civil Code, and basically just a concept of volume.
All right, yeah, good job, good job. So this was his constitution, right? This was his written set of laws and rights to the people. And there is actual rumor out there that he said, someone asked, hey, what are we going to place in this constitution? And all he said back was Bonaparte, his last name, meaning that he has absolute power, he has absolute control. And it kind of just shows really his leadership, how egocentric he was, right? Yeah, so he had a big head for sure.
I got a question.
What's
You
up?
Oversimplified.
Oversimplified?
Yeah. Oh, no.
What is that? Like a video or something?
Yeah. But it's
Kinda.
a two-part video.
All right.
And it's all about
Napoleon?
Napoleonic Age. Yeah.
Well, you can check it out, huh? Or did you already?
Oh, I've already seen it, but we should watch it in here.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah.
We'll see. Let me check it out and then we'll see. All right, okay. Napoleon, savior of the revolution, conqueror of Europe. So again, when you kind of look at Napoleon's reign, a lot of people look at it and say, wow, he was really terrible. He was an evil man. He tried to take over all of Europe, which he pretty much did. And he did so, though, through trying to spread these enlightened views, liberties, freedoms to these other countries that were still under this old system of government, right? Still within Central and even Eastern Europe, they're going by this feudal system. So Napoleon, after being attacked by Austria, by Prussia, which kind of pushed for him to gain this power in France, he thought, well, we're going to try to finish this. So he thought the best defense was a great what? Offense, yeah. So he goes on the attack. And he kind of rules in these Napoleonic Wars, which we'll talk about here soon enough, and expanding all through Europe. He wants to try to bring change to these countries, these kingdoms that are still under this old system to Europe. All right, with that, he brings on a sense of nationalism. Okay, we'll talk about nationalism here soon enough. Does anybody know what nationalism means? Anybody? Before we get to it, this is going to be one of the biggest key factors to the really start of World War One. Nationalism. Nationalism. What is it? What is it? This kind of puts an end to Marx's ideas of this uprising of the lower class. Nationalism just means an extreme sense of national pride within your own country, right? So Napoleon's bringing that change to Europe. Okay, he's bringing this sense of patriotism, in other words, to these European countries, that they'll have this extreme devotion to their own country. And I'll have that as a term here soon enough. But with that, a lot of people look at nationalism and say, wow, this is one of the key factors, the key leads to World War One, which again, there's a lot of truth to it. So he brings on this change. He brings on this new look of what government should be for these European countries and how this is going to create bitter rivalries for years on end to a point where just 100 years later, which we'll talk about, World War One will start. All right. So a lot of people look at that and say Napoleon did this. But at the same time, if you're looking at him spreading liberties, freedoms to the people, well, maybe this was a good cause. So that's why he's viewed as.
Just want to beat each other.
They wanted to beat each other up. Yeah. Okay. So his early years, he was born in Corsica, right? So right off the coast here of Italy. And he was born of a noble status. And at a very young age, he was sent to a military school to train, to gain the experience of tactics, of strategies of the time. So in his young age, he was actually sent to, why not, the strongest land military in the world, okay, where France is located, to try to learn and understand these new tactics and strategies of warfare. And this will build him into a strong man. And one thing to note, again, he was from a noble family, meaning they had wealth, they had power, they had control, okay? And a way to try to maybe make a name for himself is through this military experience. So as he's going to France, well, obviously, he didn't really speak the language, and when it came to a point, he actually had a strong accent, which a lot of people looked at and said, wow, this guy can't even really speak the language that well. He has a strong accent from, obviously, his roots in Corsica, and many people just kind of pushed him to the side. But he gained that following through his military strategies, his learnings, his understanding in this training. So overall, eventually, when he leads many conquests and wars throughout Europe and even in parts of North Africa, he gains a huge following. A lot of people learn to love him, right? So it's one of those things in his early age where they said, oh, we're not going to really go with this guy, okay? He has a strong accent. It's one of those things we can't really take him seriously. Another thing with Napoleon, a lot of people critique him on, is his height. Oh, man, his height. But at the time, this was an average height, okay? So he's about 5'6", 5'5". I'm like 5'7". I'm only an inch taller than this guy. Jeez. You guys aren't making fun of my height, are you? Yeah, okay. Anyway, with Napoleon, this was viewed as propaganda. Okay. All right. Hey. All right. So anyway, with Great Britain, as they're going to be duking out with this world power, right? We all know that France and Great Britain, they're bitter rivals up until World War One, which we'll mention. That will bring an alliance between the two. But with Napoleon, his height was normal for the size. This was an average height for the times. And for Great Britain, they use this as a tactic of propaganda to try to belittle him, to try to maybe gain a little bit more confidence when fighting the French forces. So they said, oh, yeah, he's tiny, he's short, right? He's not a man of a really tall stature. That brings a presence of intimidation. So we'll mention that here soon when we get to the Napoleonic Wars and these bitter rivalries. So here's just kind of a piece of propaganda I thought was interesting. Okay, with Great Britain, okay, kind of making fun of his height to try to bring a little bit more confidence and motivation to their soldiers when fighting France. All right, so again, Bonaparte, Napoleon, he brings on a sense of experience really early on in his age and gains a huge following as he was really learned to be a grand military strategist. All right, so the savior of the revolution. So like I mentioned, with the Reign of Terror and a lot of this anarchy, this chaos spreading throughout France, well, they needed some sort of stability. They needed some sort of structure to bring on this change, to fight off these wars against Austria, Prussia, and Great Britain, and to bring some sort of unity back to France. Okay, we mentioned already with Robespierre and the Jacobins how they caused this chaos, utilized fear to bring on this change, and eventually, right, this will lead to the Directory coming into play. So after Robespierre's head gets lopped off in a brutal fashion, this will bring on the Directory. Okay, the Directory we already mentioned is an oligarchy, not very representative of the people, and it was viewed as a weak form of government. It was corrupt. Obviously, if you have these people from a higher status making the decisions, they're not really taking into account the will of the people, the ideas of the people. So with the Directory, okay, they were formed just to really just keep ground and make sure that they're not losing these conflicts, these wars against Austria, Prussia, and Great Britain, and to try to bring some sort of unity back to France. And they failed to do so. Right? They used the military pretty extensively to try to squash any type of revolutions or any type of rebellion against the Directory. So with this weakness of this government, which didn't last too long, right, Napoleon eventually will rise to power and overthrow this Directory. Okay, we all know that with the coup d'etat, which was one of your vocab terms. So the idea was many of these people in France, as they're struggling through these wars with Austria, Prussia, and Great Britain, is that they want to bring back an authoritative government. They want to bring back an absolute monarchy because there was some sort of structure with there. There was some sort of stability. But we all remember, right? It was very hard to even put bread on the table. It was very hard to just afford everyday items to just live. So many people fought against each other during this time, and the Directory was viewed as a weak government because it did not bring this unity. So Napoleon's there, he steps up to power, and he gains a huge following through his military experience to try to overthrow this Directory, which he's famed for doing so. All right, so the coup d'etat is a sudden seizure and overthrow of the weak government. In this case, he overthrew the Directory, right? He overthrew this oligarchy, and he claims himself as the dictator, okay, the first consul, okay, the dictator of France. So the way he does it again is by his military background, his experience, okay, in warfare, and gaining a huge following to lead France in these conflicts, these wars against these rivals in Europe. Right? What better person than Napoleon? Right? He's literally fighting on the battlefields, fighting on the grounds. Okay, he knows obviously he has a huge following for his experience and for his popularity in warfare. So, what better person to step up and take this power? So when you think about military generals, which we'll mention with the Napoleonic Wars, he's ranks near the top, right? So we talked a little bit about Alexander the Great towards in the beginning of the class. We also talked about Charlemagne. You guys remember Charlemagne? Yeah? Okay, Charlemagne, right? You looked at these men as inspiration, as kind of icons for his cause with these Napoleonic Wars and his power, his quest for power. So Napoleon seizes power with the coup d'etat, overthrowing the Directory, utilizing his military experience to do so. All right, so with his absolute rule, okay, his goal was, again, to make sure that France doesn't revert back to this absolute monarchy. Okay, he wanted to make sure that he could bring some sort of unity back to France, to provide the liberties, the freedoms, okay, these rights to everybody that they were fighting for, especially during this French Revolution. Okay, as he's becoming a dictator, this absolute ruler, he doesn't want to just trash this Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizens. He doesn't want to just totally crumble up the constitutions that were written before him. Okay, there's a reason why the French Revolution was fought. And the only way to try to bring the stability back to France is give the people what they want. And that's their rights, their freedoms. Okay, they see this experiment over in America. They want to bring this idea to France. Okay, they want to try to provide a little bit more to their citizens rather than just ruling, let's say, with an iron fist like Louis XVI has done for so long and not hearing the voices of the people. So Napoleon, as a leader, even though he's considered a dictator, he still provided a lot of freedoms to his own people, which gained him a lot of popularity. Like I mentioned, with these enlightened absolute monarchs, this was kind of his, I guess, example, right? How Frederick the Great was ruling over in Prussia. Again, he's not going to lean into like his ruler, his leadership, as he wants to try to break away a little bit from these old systems of government. Okay, he wants to try to provide these liberties, these freedoms to these other countries in Europe. And that's really his excuse for these costly wars all throughout Europe under his power. So again, he doesn't want to see a reign of terror. Let's face it, all the people were all supportive of it. Okay, he doesn't want to see any more people being publicly executed in front of a common group, right? He wants to try to steer clear away from that. All right, so with that, in 1804, right, he actually brings on change, and this kind of goes to show his ego of the time. As he was being crowned emperor, as he was crowned the dictator of France, he tries to bring this old order back for this ceremony, which we know is the Pope, which we know is the Catholic Church. And he kind of disgraces him right in front of his face. So as the Pope was coming to crown him, he grabs the crown right from his hands. He says, no, no, yeah, your power is pretty much over here now. I am the extreme power, right? So he places the crown on his head and even places the crown on his wife's head as well, which we'll talk a little bit more about his love life later. Yeah. So with Napoleon, this just goes to show his ego, his big head, his mentality, and how he is bringing Catholicism back to France, but it's controlled. It's not to the point where they're making all the decisions. It's not like they're sitting on a pedestal in France, right? Napoleon is this extreme power now, right? He has all power. And this is another step away from the Catholic Church's corruption, its power during the time, in a way to express that they no longer are on this pedestal. All right, so with Napoleon, I think that was an interesting story, how he just took the crown from the Pope and placed the crown on top of his head, and really just showing an example to the rest of France that this corruption is no more, and it's no longer of the Catholic Church in France. All right, is there any questions? I'm going to leave off there. We'll talk about the Napoleonic codes more. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see. If it's virtual, you guys know what to do, right? Oh, yeah, okay. Go on Canvas, check it out. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Yeah, okay. All right, okay.
Yeah.